From his 9 years on Charleston City Council to being the interim chairman for the Cooper River Bridge Run to his own future, I speak exclusively with City of Charleston Councilman Mike Seekings for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And listen to this interview later on my free Quintin's Close-Ups iHeartRadio podcast. Councilman Mike Seekings.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent.
Can I ask you this?
Sure.
Can you define Mike Seekings?
Well, I mean, there's a few things that I'd say to that. I mean, as a public servant, as a city councilman now for 9 years, someone who's dedicated to the city of Charleston, has really taken the job that's been handed to me seriously and tried to represent my constituents and the people in the city of Charleston to the best of my ability. And it's been a wild 9-year run and an adventure. You know, I'm proud and happy and honored to still be sitting here talking to you about all things that we're accomplishing and will accomplish in the city of Charleston. So, you know, my public life is a big part of my life, and it has been it's been truly an honor. It's amazing that it's been 9 years, right? I mean, think of the changes that have come in our city over the course of that time.
Well, what is the biggest difference between 9 years ago now?
Oh, I think you just have to go outside today on a Friday afternoon and look at what's going on the sidewalks, on the streets, in the stores, and the restaurants, and the hotels. Charleston has grown in a number of different ways. Obviously, tourism, our number one industry, is blossoming. We are looking at now bringing more people back onto the peninsula and into the city of Charleston as full-time residents. So in those 9 years, I think we've gone from sort of a town that was on the cusp of moving forward to its next stage, and now we're right in it. I talk about this, and I believe it to be true, that there's never been more going on in every dimension of the city than there's going on right literally now as you and I speak on March 1st of 2019. Charleston is seeing more things going on, from development to growth to cultural to arts to food, all of the things, to education. We just have it all going on here, and one of the things that we're charged with, and one of the things that's a challenge, and one of the things that's actually fun is being one of the stewards of that. I know it's not perfect, but we're in a good place in the city of Charleston. If we can keep that balance between, I call it that 72-72 balance, the balance between the people here for 72 hours along with the people here for 72 years and beyond, keep it a place where you want to live, then we'll have succeeded.
Help me educate me about this, because you just said that you're trying to bring more full-time residents back to the peninsula.
Yeah.
Where do they go?
Well, that's a great question. And if you look at this, I'm a numbers guy, a metrics person. I really like it. And Charleston right now is a city of 132,000 strong, and it's growing. Most people don't know that of those 132,000, only 30,000, and really only 20,000 full-time residents are found on the peninsula. West Ashley has 80,000, Daniel Island 10,000 and growing, Johns Island 10,000 and growing, James Island 10,000 and growing. The peninsula 50 years ago had 75,000 residents. So where they've gone, as you can see, into other pockets of the city as we've grown out into West Ashley. Urban living during the 50s, 60s, and 70s wasn't the thing, and so we have really been subject to the same forces that have hit a lot of cities around, not just the country, but the world. And so the whole idea of bringing people back onto the peninsula as a place to live is something that we are charged with, take seriously, and it's the only way we're going to get affordable housing, access to jobs, all of the things that the economic center of the city, especially tourism, which is the peninsula, needs to become and stay vibrant.
How do you define affordable housing in 2019?
Well, I actually used the wrong word. Attainable housing is what I'm talking to, because affordable housing has many levels. I mean, attainable housing, that is housing that is available and attainable for people who live and work in the city, is one thing. It's not affordable here in Charleston. That attainable housing will never be defined as affordable. Then you have affordable housing, which is housing that we have to build and dedicate to people who aren't making a living wage but need a place to live. And then, you know, some parts of housing in a community that takes its obligation seriously to give full access to everybody, we need to have some subsidized housing. So there's many different tiers of that. And when people come and say, well, we've got to have more affordable housing, that's not the start. We need to really actually define which each one of those is. And for now, we don't have enough attainable housing. We certainly don't have enough affordable housing, and we need some more housing that people can get access to.
Where are you going to put these people?
Well, that's a great question, of course. We're going to put them in places where it's available. The peninsula is still a place that we can do that. As you see, we've got a lot of construction going on in the city. We've changed our zoning code to require affordable housing in certain projects if people opt into the MU zoning classification. Now again, affordable being a term of art, we've issued the $20 million affordable housing bond. I wish we hadn't called it that, but anyway we did. That money is going to go towards building housing that people will actually be able to buy and live in. So, it's a big umbrella and a big issue. I will tell you this, I think it's a regional issue. I don't think that we can solve it in Charleston alone. I think we need to work with North Charleston, we need to work with Mount Pleasant, we need to work with the county, because if we can find pockets of available land to build attainable, affordable, and subsidized housing, it doesn't matter if it's on this side or that side of a geographic line, if it's there in a place where people can then transit around and be part of the community, that will be a success. And right now we haven't done that. That's a challenge that we have to rise up to.
This might be a irrelevant question, maybe a silly question, but how do you work with the North Charleston and Charleston County and Somerville, Mount Pleasant to deal with hotels and the issues with that?
Well, I mean, hotels was not what was on my mind. It was housing. And with housing and with the tourism industry and with all the industries around here that we have to get people in a place where they can succeed, they're in an area that's close to where they work and where they live. There's transit in that area. To me, that is what we have to do. When it comes to tourism and growth, certainly within our borders and within our bounds, the city of Charleston has to have zoning priorities and zoning codes in place that fits all of the different things. We need policies. And then we should work with the region because we're growing as a region. And really it's not on the hotel side of things, it's on the transportation side of things. Transportation is regional, doesn't know boundaries. Water, flooding, regional, doesn't know boundaries. And I believe housing fits into that same category too.
Obviously, you talk about water and flooding and all that other stuff. Let me take you to earlier this week with the Charleston City Council meeting. I believe that the City Council actually approved Matthew Fountain to be the director of stormwater flooding.
We did it. We're glad to have it.
What can you expect from him?
So Matthew comes with some great credentialing, not only in terms of his academic background and his work experience, but his prior job is working with the county. Right. So there's someone who's had boots on the ground in our region, understands the geography, and importantly the geology. He's actually a geologist, among other things. So he comes with a wealth of knowledge and experience, not just as an engineer geologist, but as someone who has worked on the issues in this region. And I think one of the things, I spoke to him before we actually introduced him as our full-time engineer and he had accepted the job. I'm like, well, how long are you going to stay at the county? He's going to be there for another 2 or 3 weeks. We need to make sure he keeps good relationships with those at the county because we're going to need help from them for infrastructure, and especially on the water side. So excited to have him, as part of our team. I think our team's really happy to have him. We now have 2 more project managers inside. We're in the process of hiring AECOM as our outside projects manager. So finally we'll have some resource to look at, design, prioritize, and attack the issues of infrastructure when it comes to water and transportation. And to me, it's been a long time in coming, too long time in coming. So he's coming into a tough job. No question about it, but I think he's the right person.
You talk about transportation. What is the state of transportation right now?
Oh, well, it's getting better for sure. We have a lot of eyes on it for the first time in a long time. If you had gone 5 or 6 years ago to the state level, the county level, or even any city level around and talked about public transportation, people would gloss over. They didn't want to talk about it, think about it. It was a drag on the system. We weren't focused on it. We've never, since 1670 in this region, had a large-scale transit program or plan. Well, here we go. Low Country Rapid Transit's coming to you. We need it. We want it. The electorate has voted for it. We've got it funded. We've got to start somewhere, and dedicated transit lanes is that place. The people who live here want it. The people who visit here need it. If we're going to have development that's smart and reasoned and thought about, transit-oriented development's the way to go. We're going to open up a corridor between here and Somerville, which will give us some opportunity for density, for affordable and attainable housing, for transit and access, and get downtown to the medical university in that area. Those are things we're sorely lacking, and we have to do it. There is no other option but yes.
And obviously transportation is going to be a big question coming up next month when the Cooper River Bridge Run comes.
Yep, there's no question. Excited to be a part of and humbled to be a part of the Cooper River Bridge Run. The father of the Cooper River Bridge Run is Julian Smith, my good friend. He had taken that from a humble beginnings to now what is the biggest single-day event in all of this region. Not only is it a fun time, you and I both running it. I think you beat me last year. We're all running it, but it's a community event that involves everybody, not just those who get across the bridge. So I'm honored really to be in the interim as Julian transitions to race director emeritus, to be the race director for this year, the executive director, and to put on a good show for our participants, and to put on a great event for our community, and to really show how we shine here. It's exciting, really exciting. We're working on it this morning, and unfortunately this year I don't get to run, so I can get across it a little bit faster today.
Oh yes. I gotta come back to you. Obviously, you have spent 9 years on Charleston City Council, and you're a very notable attorney here in Charleston. What else does people don't know about you right now?
Well, I have a full-time life, as you know. I mean, between my city council job, my CARTA job, now with the bridge run, that takes up a lot of my time. When I'm not doing that, as you know, I'm a very enthusiastic outdoors person. Health and wellness and fitness is something that I think about a lot. I'm a big runner. I like to spend some time outside of the spotlight, away from the crowds, and just like anybody else, enjoy the things that Charleston has to offer, we as residents, and it really fits into a place. I'm very interested and involved in the arts community, want to see that grow and flourish. I'm really supported. I'm on the board of the Gibbs. The Gibbs is just a jewel of this region. I encourage anybody out there watching to get over there and take a look, come spend some time with us. So full-time life, full contact life, very interesting and exciting, and a lot more to come, I think.
You talk about a lot more to come. What can you offer more to the city in the next 4 years?
Well, I've got my seat as a city council member for the next 3 years. I have just been reelected chairman of the board of CARTA, so that's another 2, and I plan on taking both of those positions and moving us along. I mean, my vision for Charleston, and I hope others share it, I think my constituents and many of the citizens do, is to get a balance in the city and to figure out where we're going to be 10, 15, and 20 years down the road, have a list of priorities and pursue them zealously and with a focus that brings us some success and some solutions. We're behind the 8 ball on transportation. We're doing something about it. We are way behind the 8 ball on the issue of water and what it's going to do to our culture, to the manner in which we live, move, and build going forward for 10, 15, 20 years. So for me, I think my place in all this will be a leader on those issues and the issues of livability in our region, which has to always be at the forefront of our mind. And public safety, of course. I mean, we want to be safe.
Councilman Mike Seekings, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anytime. Yes, sir. Yeah.